All right, so after watching all the videos this week, we're learning about the different elements of what goes into the book cover as far as the front, the back, the spine, if you're having a jacket or not, doing research. It does seem like a lot. And so it can seem almost like, yeah, it's easier just to hire a professional and get it done right. But I know for a lot of us authors, we're working on a tight budget, and the draw of just doing it DIY can seem really promising. So today I'm actually going to work through my history and evolution of when I've worked with a professional, when I've done it myself, the mistakes that I learned along the way, and how I think that can help you, and my recommendation for what you should moving forward. Stay tuned. Hi, I'm MK Williams. I'm an author and independent publisher. I love sharing my insights all about self-publishing with you. Before I get into the details of today's video, don't forget to hit subscribe. That way you can be here every week as I release new videos on self-publishing, making a career to being an author, and now being a mompreneur. And most importantly, this week, I know we're nearing the end, we're going to be covered on covers. That's right. Every single video this week is all about book covers, information, different elements that goes on the different sides of your book cover, because there's a front, there's a back, there's a spine. And today we're going to be talking about some of the comparisons between working with a professional and DIY book covers. Tomorrow, I'm actually going to be unveiling my newest book cover, so stay tuned for that. You definitely want to be subscribed. And that brings me to today's sponsor. So this video and all the videos in this series are sponsored by FormattedBooks. Yes, they format books for self-publishing authors, but they are also now launching a book cover design platform as well. So they can be your one-stop shop to get the book formatted and the cover designed all in one go. And they have self-publishing prices, as in prices that self-publishing authors like us can actually afford. So definitely go to their website. The link is below to check out their new service and tell them that MK sent you. All right, so today we're going to go down memory lane and go over all my mistakes about my books and kind of learn how I have, and kind of go over what I've learned along the way. I know I've shared some of my tips this whole week about book covers, but I really want to walk you through what I've learned, how I learned it, and some of the ways that I've even fine-tuned my own design skills to do some DIY covers. So let's start at the very beginning with Nailbiters. I want you to pause the video for a second and just guess if I did this myself or if a professional did this. Okay, pause. All right, have you guessed? Okay, so this was done by an actual professional graphic designer, go figure. So a friend of mine from high school, she was always really great at design. She professionally became a graphic designer. And so when it was time to release my first book into the world, I knew I would only trust a friend with it. So she gave me a good friend rate, which was still really pricey. So definitely hands down, the most expensive thing about this book is the cover. It looks amazing though. I still get compliments on it to this day because of this book. It looks amazing. She did this custom illustration. She has the nice elements with it. I remember when I opened the design concepts, so she read through the book and sent me concepts, and the first four were similar and I liked them, but then this was the last one and I was literally just it just blew me away. She did such a great job with it. The one mistake I made though is that when I hired her, I was still in that phase. If you watch my other videos, you'll know this, where I was no, only ebooks because I'm going to save the trees and I don't want a print book, only ebooks, and people should just want to not print things. Anyways, so I only hired her to do the ebook cover. So that's why for the rest of the book, the wrap, it looks like I did it because I did this part. She made this part pretty. I made this part functional. So there's that. But it's beautiful. I think it definitely intrigues people and pulls them into the series. So that was exciting. Okay, so we're going to come back to the series a bit later. But my next book that was done was The Games You Cannot Win. Okay, so I'm going to hold up this one. And so go ahead, take a minute, hit pause, and guess, do you think if this was done by a professional or by me? Okay. Did you guess? This was done by me. I don't know if you can tell. It looks a little DIY. So at this point, my second book was coming out. I put myself under this really tight, arbitrary deadline to have it done within a year. I don't know why I was so hung up. It had to be done in 1 year. I just wanted it done in a year. And so I reached out to another friend, a different friend who also did graphic design. I was saying, hey, I would love to also design books. Can I design your book? Great. So I was really excited to get to work with a different professional for this book. They wanted to add it to their portfolio. It looked like it was going to be a really good back and forth. So they sent over some initial concepts, and then they had a family issue come up. And so as their friend, I knew their priority needed to be with their family and not on my book. And I was getting really antsy. I just wanted out. So I was like, you know what? don't worry about the cover. Like there are some things that are just truly more important than like, business and things like that. I was like, my cover is like the lowest on the priority for you. And like, that's totally fine. So I tried my hand at designing this cover. For a first attempt, I think it's not the worst. Yeah, it is what it is. It is what it is. So this is as I was just starting to be able to like fiddle around with Photoshop and kind of figuring some things out. And again, I wanted it to have this more literary feel because I thought it was so highbrow. Yeah. Okay, so the next book that was published was Enemies of Peace. All right, so again, I'm going to give you a second to pause and guess if you think I designed this or a professional designed this, okay? So pause. Okay, so did you guess? Who do you think designed this? Okay, this one is one that I did as well. So after taking the time to learn a bit more about Photoshop, I actually took a course in Coursera that was like really basic design basics, graphic design basics. And I thought, oh, I can totally do this now. So I tried some different options with different like icons and colors. Like I knew I wanted to have like the caution tape, but I wanted it to like not be like the police caution tape. So I wanted to have like different icons on there. This is actually a photo of the house that I used to live in with my husband. And I just kind of like distorted it a bit. And I wanted this like almost to look like the writing was in blood. Again, it maybe didn't match the genre, but I had a really specific vision for what I wanted. I wanted it to be bright and bold and really pop. So I think it turned out the way I envisioned it, but I do think if I worked with a professional, they probably would have come up with something better than what I could have envisioned. Yeah. So that's where we are with that one. There we go. Okay. So the next book that I published was The Infinite Infinite. All right. And we're going to play the same game. All right. So go ahead. We're going to pause. You're going to guess who designed this, me or a professional. Okay, so I actually designed this one, and I'm the most proud of this one of all my DIY designs. By the time this came out, it had been a while since I put out one of my own books because I had been so busy working on client projects. And I did research on the other books in the genre, and they had a lot of like spacey looking covers. And I noticed a lot of them, it was just a background image with some stylized text on top. And I thought, okay, I can definitely do that. So that's what I did. I figured out how to kind of like weld this little F. I know there's like I don't know the actual math term for it, but it looks pretty and it's mathy and it's spacey and it works. So this one I'm actually one of the most proud of, and I actually get a lot of compliments on this cover too. And people think that it's done by a professional. So that makes me feel really good that I did it well enough and I kind of learned to be more simple. I think my other ones that I did myself looked too busy and it really showed. So yeah, that's where that one came from. Okay, so the next books, I'm actually going to go over the Author Your Ambition series all at once because you can tell they're all in the same template. So really quickly, just again, pause and guess who you think designed these, me or a professional. Okay. Have you guessed? Okay, I designed these. And I don't know, you're probably thinking like, MK, have you ever worked with a professional except for that first time? And I have. But after the success of The Infinite, I did feel really confident in designing covers. So for self-publishing for the first time author and book marketing for the first time author, I tried my hand at it again. I realized that like simple was better. And I actually am planning to kind of revitalize these a little bit and spruce them up because I think Going Wide, the latest one in the series, looks the best. So I kind of want to take some of what I have like learned and tweaked on these and apply it here. But the titles are long, so I didn't want a lot of extra like details cluttering up the cover. I wanted it to be really easy for me to templatize so people could like easily spot a book in this series. I knew it was going to be a series when I started them. So that's why you can see they all have like the solid color. It's actually a bit of a gradient. They all have like the title and the subtitle. They have like these use of really clean lines. It's like scripty font. So there's a lot of elements there and thought that went into it. So I was really proud of that, that I was able to have those look nice. And I think they do visually match and they fit in. So I think that is really exciting. And what I did is I literally took like the self-publishing book file in Photoshop and I saved it as new, changed the background color, gradient, and then entered the new title and element. So it was really easy for me to templatize it and make sure that it looks good. And if you'll notice on the side here, except for Going Wide, which is the longest, and therefore we had a bit more real estate, the names mostly match up. I need to kind of go back and fix these on the spine. And then some of them were too short for me to put the icon on there. So I have my Author Your Ambition icon on the back of all of them. because that's the brand. So that was something that was really fun for me to work on and do. Okay. All right. So we're going back to our original series. Okay, I have so many books. Okay, so the next one is Architects. Now, this is the sequel to Nailbiters. So again, feel free to pause and guess if I worked with a professional or I DIY'd this. Okay, so this was a DIY job. Fun fact. So this was the first time I needed a cover for a second book in a series. I was feeling really confident off of my previous covers, and I thought, okay, like I'm going to give this a try. I knew I couldn't create the custom illustration that my friend Nora did for Nailbiters, but I wanted it to look like a DOS screen, like that really old like computer style screen, or like some kind of snapshot of like a topographical map, kind of like a bad satellite image. And if you've read the book, that should make sense. So I knew that I didn't want smooth lines. Like I wanted it to look like this grainy, like you're almost zoomed in on a computer. Like I wanted it to look like that. I think some people are like, that looks really grainy. And I'm like, yeah, that's the point. So I almost had to like accentuate it a bit just to make sure people could tell like, no, that was intentional, not like poor quality. Like I wanted it to look that way. So I knew going in that I didn't want the smooth lines. I want it to look a little glitchy, like, which sounds crazy, but that's what I wanted the cover to look like. And I think it came out pretty well to like what I envisioned. Again, I'm not sure if I had like teamed up with Nora again, or with another designer, like it definitely would have looked better. But I knew I could exactly match the colors. So that way, you know, like this is more red, this one's more black. If you look at the sides, I was actually able to match up the spines really well. So I think my skills were definitely coming along nicely to be able to at least match those up, and that the colors matched, like they look like they're part of a series, and that's what I wanted. I don't know if you saw that. They look like they're part of a series, and that's what I wanted. Okay, so my last one is Avila Chase. So again, same game. Go ahead, pause, guess who designed it. Me or a professional? This one was DIY. So I had an idea to release this as a standalone novella for a while. And so I had actually fiddled in Canva with a cover, but I did use one of my own photos for this background. So that's one thing you need to look out for if you are using Canva, is that you need to make sure you're not using one of their images. You need to use your own or create your own. Otherwise, you could run into some issues with like you're using this as like a for sale item, like a for profit item, not just like for free for, I don't know, like presentations or whatever. So I used my own photo. I really liked how this was set. I wanted it to look really simple. I wanted it to have a more literary feel, and I think it definitely does that. Apparently I really like doing lines because I did that on all my AYA books too. Guess that's my thing. You're probably watching this thinking like, okay, MK, so you only had one book designed by a professional. The rest were all DIY. So why aren't you just continuing to do DIY? And the main thing is a lot of these were designed before I had a baby. Like the ones that came out post baby are these three. So How to Write Your First Novel came out after I had a baby, but everything was designed pre-baby. Escaping Avila Chase came out post-baby, but I had already kind of fiddled with this design in Canva pre-baby. And Going Wide was 100% done post-baby. And so for How to Write Your First Novel and Going Wide, like again, as I said, I had already designed the cover and I just took the template, like saved it as a new one, and then changed the colors, obviously changed the title, reworked it a bit to make it, match. And then this one was already kind of set up in Canva. And that's why, like moving forward for the sequel for The Infinite, this is really a very specific kind of cover. And I was like, I tried to fiddle with something and it wasn't working. And then Formatted Books actually specifically mentioned that they were going to launch a cover design service and like, hey, like, would you want to check that out? And I was like, yes. Because as I was fiddling with a potential cover for the Alpha Nina, I realized like, I don't have the time for this anymore. And I need it to look good. Like I need it to look just as good as this one, if not better. So I was really excited to be able to work with them. And I think in terms of, if you have all the time in the world to fiddle with it and you feel that you have, the time to research book covers, like not just that, oh, like I'm kind of good at drawing things, like you actually have to know book covers. And I took a lot of time to learn it and I did some trial and error. And I was willing to do that trial and error because then I would like put it out on the channel. But I'm really excited to be working with the designer because I didn't have to worry about, like, I literally saw the mock-ups and I was able to be like, oh, like that, don't like that, here, do this. Like, it, instead of me having to like figure out how to do it. And I think that's one of the things I've learned. Like, it took me 6 years to learn all these things about book covers, and it takes so much time and there's so much scrutiny on it. And like, sometimes I look at them and like I cringe a bit, and other people maybe don't notice, but I certainly notice things. Or I've even said, like, I made things exactly what my vision was, but a designer probably could have made it look better. And that's why I'm really, really excited in the next video to show you all. That's why I'm really, really excited in the next video to finally unveil to you the cover for the Alpha Nina that the Formatted Books team put together. So if you enjoyed learning about my history and my mistakes with DIY book cover design, definitely give this video a thumbs up and subscribe. Leave me a comment below. What were some of your disaster stories with some DIY book covers? I definitely want to hear those. And stay tuned for the next video from Formatted Books, where we're going to see what my new book cover looks like.